let's get real for a second. If he is overseas right now, deep in Europe, doing exactly what I suspect he is doing to chemically guarantee he can survive 65 games this season and somehow drag his body through a grueling playoff push, maybe even making a legitimate title run alongside Luka and the rest of that squad, then so be it. If I am sitting in the stands wearing purple and gold, I am all for it. I support it 100%. Do what you have to do. Just do me one favor. Don't look me in the eye and lie about it. But this feels off. It feels incredibly strange that out of nowhere, he is suddenly struck down by debilitating sciatica, a condition that we have literally never heard a single whisper about before today. We have tracked this man's life for 20 years. We know everything. And now, suddenly we are blindsided? Now, watch what happens. 3 weeks from now, maybe 5, he is going to storm back onto the court, playing 40 minutes a night, looking like he just turned 25 years old again. Craig Carton just absolutely unloaded on LeBron James, and he did not hold back. He didn't tiptoe around the controversy. He didn't whisper. He didn't try to soften the blow. He attacked the injury, the suspicious timing, and the entire narrative in a way that instantly set the sports world on fire. He didn't explicitly accuse LeBron of breaking the law, but he had the guts to say out loud what most mainstream media puppets are terrified to even think. The math simply doesn't add up. And when you are talking about the king, LeBron James, even the slightest hint of doubt explodes into a full-blown Category 5 storm. We all know the game. There is a reason these cats fly to Europe when their bodies start failing, and they need that extra physical boost. When they need that cutting-edge medical assistance just to be able to compete at the god-tier level they demand of themselves. It's like I've always said about baseball. Honestly, I encourage my favorite players to take as many steroids as humanly possible. I'm not joking. I actually want them to do it. So I have to ask you, do you actually believe this injury is legit? Or do you think there is something much bigger, something darker happening behind the scenes? Sound off in the comments right now. No filters. I need to know where you stand because this is shaping up to be one of the most controversial LeBron stories we have seen in years. The guy looked pretty good. In fact, he looked incredibly healthy to me right there. He looked unstoppable. Yeah, exactly. Remember the video he dropped himself? He was squatting 125 pounds on the barbell, grinding it out. I mean, he looked like a machine. He is in phenomenal shape, obviously, no question. And then, of course, you had the massive Hennessy reveal just days later. He looked smooth, walking to that chair, sipping his drink. That footage, he looked fantastic. Absolutely zero signs of pain. But then the hammer drops yesterday. LeBron James is out 3 or 4 weeks minimum. He is going to miss the start of the NBA season because he allegedly has sciatica. Do you know what sciatica is? That is an old person's disease. We are talking about excruciating pain radiating from the lower back all the way down the leg. That is the stereotypical, crippling reality of sciatica. It takes you out completely. The moment Carton opened his mouth, the tone shifted from concern to straight-up confrontation. This was not your routine injury report. This was a direct challenge to the sacred narrative surrounding the most protected, manicured superstar in the modern NBA. A sudden, convenient sciatica diagnosis, weeks of downtime, and the distinct possibility of vanishing only to return at superhuman strength? Carton framed it as suspicious, calculated, and way too convenient. He didn't have proof, but he had patterns. And patterns are enough to ignite a firestorm when LeBron's name is involved. Back pain? Oh my God. And it shoots down the leg? It is agony, right? But listen, it is extremely rare for a well-conditioned athlete, even one past his prime, to suddenly develop sciatica, unless you are essentially a heavy weightlifter. Putting insane amounts of pressure on your spine, grinding those lower back muscles into dust, that kind of thing. And frankly, I am calling BS on the whole story. You ask why? Because I literally saw the man dancing last week. You do not bust moves like that if you have sciatica, period. I hate to be the cynic here, but this seems to be the current norm for LeBron. Whenever he isn't quite ready to go, whether it's heading into an all-star break, starting a season, or during a meaningless stretch of games, he just disappears. Because let's be brutally honest, LeBron James does not get treated like a normal athlete. He never has, and he never will. Every single move is dissected. Every absence is overanalyzed. Every comeback is magnified into a global event. So when the news broke that he would be sidelined with a mystery nerve issue right before tip-off, people didn't ask how serious is it. They asked, why now? Why now? After months of looking perfectly fine, after the workouts, the ads, the public appearances that showed absolutely zero visible limitations, and that is exactly where Carton pushed the envelope. He suggested that perhaps it is not sciatica at all. And remember, the man has lied about injuries before. Remember when he claimed he wouldn't have been able to play in Game 6 of the playoffs last year? He said even if they hadn't been eliminated, he had a sudden MCL sprain. Yeah, right. And literally the very next day, he was dancing. He was doing that move with his knees. You know, the one you cannot do that if you have a sprained MCL. Yeah, it was like a version of the butterfly. Impossible with an injury. So look, I get it. I understand the game. And if he is actually in Europe doing what I think he is doing, guaranteeing he can physically survive 65 games and maybe make a legendary playoff run with Luka and the crew, as a fan, if I were a Laker fan, I would support it. I support it 100%. Just stop lying to me. Carton didn't scream accusations. He didn't claim to have the smoking gun. But he leaned heavily into one simple fact. The fans are not stupid. We can see exactly what is happening. A player looks explosive all summer long, and then suddenly he has a condition serious enough to vanish? We know the score. When a superstar built on pure, unshakable durability suddenly taps out before the real war begins, the world stops. In a vacuum, sure, it is just a medical report, but in the LeBron James universe, there is no vacuum. There is only context, heavy history, and the crushing weight of expectation. And let me make this crystal clear right now. I am not sitting here accusing the man of a crime. I am not saying the fix is in. What I am saying is that if this whole scenario turns out to be a calculated masterpiece of misdirection, I wouldn't blink an eye. It just screams strange. You have a guy whose life is dissected frame by frame, and suddenly, boom, sciatica out of the clear blue sky, a condition we have never heard a whisper about. We know what he eats for breakfast. Yet this blind side hits, and mark my words, in 3 weeks, maybe 5, he is going to storm back onto that court, clock 40 minutes of high-intensity ball, and look like he just turned 25 again. There is a reason the elite of the elite book those private jets to Europe when the body starts to fail. They aren't going for the architecture. They are going for the kind of medical miracles that keep you superhuman. Craig Carton didn't just make a comment, he threw a grenade into a conversation that has been shadowing LeBron for years. We are talking about defying biology, dominance at an age where legends are supposed to be limping, not flying. He is producing numbers that would make a prime 20-year-old jealous. The fans, they stand in awe, but deep down, they are asking the question. It is not that they want to believe there is foul play, but they are witnessing something that breaks the laws of physics. And when you see a miracle, suspicion is the shadow that follows it. Now, nobody is denying the pain. Sciatica is real, it is brutal. It can end seasons and ruin careers. It lingers like a ghost. It can shut down the greatest athletes on the planet. But the court of public opinion, it doesn't care about MRI scans. It cares about the eye test. And visually, LeBron looked like a tank. Strong, agile, locked in. That disconnect, the difference between the medical report and the highlight reel, is what lit the match. It gave Carton the license to say, something smells off here. And once that door was kicked open, the narrative spiraled out of control. We aren't just talking about a bad back anymore. We are talking about the sanctity of the legacy. Because LeBron James operates under a microscope that would burn anyone else alive. Every single move, every missed game, every grimace is ammunition in the great debate. Jordan, Kobe, Duncan, Curry, those are the gods he is chasing. And when the script includes mysterious disappearances followed by convenient, superhuman returns, the critics sharpen their knives. Let's be fair, there is zero proof. No smoking gun linking LeBron to performance-enhancing drugs, ever. No suspensions, no failed tests. The rap sheet is spotless. That is the cold, hard truth. But sport is a cruel teacher. We have been burned before by heroes who seemed immune to the ravages of time. Baseball, cycling, The track entire eras of dominance have crumbled into dust when the truth came out. So when a 40-year-old NBA icon is still physically destroying the competition, people start connecting dots, even if those dots are miles apart. Carton just leaned into the darkness. He touched the third rail. The secret trips overseas. The German treatments. It's not new. Kobe did it. The greats have done it. Advanced blood spinning, alternative therapies, stuff you can't get at your local clinic. It happens. But in a story fueled by paranoia, even a legitimate medical trip gets twisted into something sinister. That is where the speculation starts to outrun the reality, and frankly, LeBron's timing is always part of the drama. The man is the ultimate puppet master of his own story. From the decision to the boardroom, nothing is accidental. Everything is calculated. That isn't an insult, that is acknowledging a genius strategy. But when a sudden injury announcement drops right after a PR storm, critics don't see bad luck. They see a diversion. They see damage control. They question the very fabric of the truth. And you cannot ignore the cultural fatigue. LeBron has been the sun the NBA orbits around for over 2 decades. That level of exposure creates exhaustion. Not hatred, just fatigue. People are waiting for the decline. They expect a fall of Rome. And when he refuses to fall, they start hunting for reasons why. They want the story to make sense. They want the tragic hero arc that every other aging superstar has been forced to walk. But LeBron, he took that script and shredded it. Season after season, he evolves, he invests millions in his body, and he maintains a level of play that feels alien to human history. And that is the heart of the battle. Is this the ultimate evolution of the athlete, or is it better living through science? Most fans choose to believe in the magic, but a loud minority chooses suspicion. And guys like Craig Carton are standing right on the line, shouting the questions everyone else is whispering. What fuels this fire is the man's reputation as a cyborg. For 20 years, he has been made of iron, indestructible, playing through the pain, logging minutes that would break a normal man. That consistency built a prison of expectation. We demand him to be there, always. So when he finally steps back, the silence is deafening. It feels heavier than it would for any other mortal player. Carton framed the ultimate question. If LeBron vanishes into the shadows for a few weeks and returns looking refreshed, explosive, and unstoppable, will you be shocked? No, not because of a conspiracy, but because doing the impossible is just a Tuesday for LeBron James. He didn't just silence the doubts, he strangled the narrative with his bare hands and forced the world to watch him work. Every single time the critics scream he is washed up, predicting his decline, he claps back with production that defies logic. It is a vicious cycle that keeps the G, O, A, T, debate raging like a wildfire that refuses to die out. But now, the stakes are lethal. Every comeback performance is under a microscope, every ferocious dunk is analyzed frame by frame, and every stat is weaponized in the war of public opinion. His army of loyalists will scream about discipline, diet, and the billion-dollar body. The haters, they point to a longevity curve that looks suspiciously unnatural. And somewhere in the chaotic middle lies the truth. Messy, dark, layered, and probably way too complex for a 30-second soundbite. But freeze the frame for a second. We have to look at the human element here. Sciatica isn't just a sore back, it is absolute torture. We are talking about electricity shooting down your leg, nerve pain that short-circuits your balance and drains your endurance. Recovery is a war zone. One day you feel invincible, the next you can barely tie your shoes. For an athlete chasing ghosts and championships at 40 years old, that kind of unpredictability isn't just frustrating, it is terrifying. Missing games isn't about taking a vacation. It is a desperate bid to salvage the wreckage of a machine that has been redlined for 2 decades straight. But let's be real, the mob doesn't care about medical charts. People want blood. They want certainty, not possibilities. They demand answers in a game built on smoke and mirrors. And when the silence stretches too long, the void gets filled with wild theories and dark whispers. Craig Carton didn't start the fire, he just poured gasoline on a pile of skepticism that was already smoldering in the bleachers. He gave a megaphone to the doubts everyone was already thinking, and that skepticism is inextricably fused to his legend. Because at this stage, LeBron isn't just playing basketball, he is curating a museum. He is guarding a legacy that historians will fight over for centuries. Every single season adds bulletproof armor to his argument as the greatest to ever lace them up. But every night off is fresh meat for the Wolves, and every return, it has to be a declaration of war. Here is the cold, hard reality. No smoking gun, no failed tests, no confirmed manipulation, just shadows. All we have is a medical report, a ticking clock, and a superstar living under the most intense surveillance in sports history. But in this league, perception is king. The truth doesn't matter, the narrative does, and the next chapter will define how this entire era is remembered. If LeBron comes back looking human slow, cautious, grinding through the gears, the conspiracy theories die a quiet death. He becomes just another old warrior limping toward the finish line. A mortal ending to an immortal run. But if he steps on that floor and explodes, if he is jumping out of the gym, dropping 40 pieces, and moving like he is 25 again, the internet will break. The whispers will turn into screams. That is the burden of the crown. The higher you fly, the more people ask how you got those wings. The longer you last, the louder the accusations get. LeBron has built a mansion in the eye of that storm. Worshipped, hated, deified, and doubted all at the exact same time. Carton's comments went for the jugular, sure, but they expose the raw nerve of modern sports fandom. We don't just consume highlights anymore. We decode body language. We analyze timelines. We hunt for the lie. We challenge the official story. And when the biggest name on the planet is involved, the paranoia hits overdrive. And standing alone at center court is the man himself, LeBron James. Still hungry, still hunting rings, still forcing conversations that no other athlete can generate. Whether the injury is real or strategic, a misunderstanding or a master plan, one fact remains absolute. The spotlight is burning a hole through him. When he walks back out of that tunnel, the noise will be deafening. The believers are ready to riot. The critics are sharpening their knives. The analysts are pulling up the spreadsheets. Every single dribble will be treated like forensic evidence. Every play is a manifesto. It is not just about the season anymore. It is about answering the silence in every word spoken in his absence. Because ultimately, this isn't about nerve pain. It is about faith. Do you believe in greatness? Do you believe in the grind? Or do you believe the human body has limits that even a king can't cheat? LeBron has spent 20 years shattering those limits. Now, even the pauses are part of the legend. So, the stage is set, the lights are dimmed, everything hinges on the next move. If LeBron returns looking like a monster, this conversation is going to hit nuclear levels and every performance will feel like a statement. But I need to know where you stand. Is this just a genius veteran managing his mileage? Or is there a darker secret lurking in the locker room? Sound off in the comments right now. Smash that like button if you want the raw, unfiltered truth about the NBA, and hit subscribe so you are locked in for the moment. When the king reclaims his throne and forces the entire world to bear witness,